Best HFY story. Few things are constant in this galaxy. A human promise is one of them. John Carter sat in the small council chamber on Talrex, feeling the weight of a galaxy on his shoulders. The room was dimly lit, with walls of gray metal that hummed quietly. Alien leaders of many shapes and sizes surrounded him, their eyes sharp and cold. They had come to discuss the future of Talrex, a small planet on the edge of human-inhabited space. For centuries, Talrex had been a quiet world, rich in minerals but weak in military strength. Now it faced a threat that could wipe it from the stars. John looked around the room. The Varan leaders, a reptilian species with green scales and wide black eyes, shifted nervously in their chairs. They whispered to each other in low, hissing tones. John knew their fear was real. The empire that threatened them was known across the galaxy for breaking treaties, crushing worlds, and taking whatever they wanted. Many species had already surrendered when the empire appeared. The Varan had no army strong enough to fight back. "We should surrender," one of the Varan spoke, his voice shaky. "We cannot stand against them. We have no hope." John shook his head. He had been trained for moments like this. Humans had a strange reputation in the galaxy. Compared to some of the older species, humans were small, fragile, and unpredictable. They had no giant ships, no immense armies, and no long history of interstellar power. Yet, John knew something others often overlooked. Humans kept their word. When they promised something, they fought to keep it, no matter the cost. "You will not stand alone," John said, his voice calm but firm. "Humans will help you. We will not let this empire destroy your world if you choose to defend it." The room went silent. The alien leaders stared at him in disbelief. They had not expected this. Humans were new to this part of space. They had never fought a real war outside their home system. Yet, here was John Carter, promising protection for a planet with a population barely a fraction of a human city. "You speak foolishly," said another Varan leader. His scales were darker and his eyes gleamed with doubt. "Your words are wind. Promises mean nothing when the enemy comes. Your ships are few. Your species is weak. Why would you risk yourself for us?" John met the leader's gaze without fear. "Because we give our word, and a human promise is one thing we do not break. If we say we will help, we will. We will stay with you. We will fight with you." That is how humans live. It is simple, but it is true. The Varan murmured among themselves. Some looked hopeful. Others shook their heads, unsure if they could believe him. Outside, the sun of Talrex hung low over jagged mountains. Smoke from mining cities rose in thin trails, and John could feel the tension of a world waiting for a storm. After a long pause, John stood and walked toward a window overlooking the city. He could see the small lights of buildings scattered across the plains. He imagined what would happen if the Empire attacked tomorrow. The buildings could burn, the people could die, and the planet could fall. Yet he refused to let fear guide his words. Humans had survived worse. Humans had fought when all seemed lost, not for glory, but for the lives of others and for the promises they made. "I understand your fear," John said, turning back to the room. "But running will not save you. Hiding will not save you. Only standing together, trusting each other, will give you a chance. We will be there. My name is John Carter. I promise that humans will fight with you, no matter the danger. Will you stand with us?" There was a long silence. Some Varan looked down at the floor, unsure what to do. Others glanced at their advisors. The smallest leader, a young Varan who rarely spoke, finally stepped forward. Her voice was soft but clear. We will try. We will fight with you. If humans promise, we will follow." John nodded. It was enough. He knew that once a promise was given, action must follow. It was the way of humans. They never counted the cost. They counted only the word. He sent a private message to Earth, a simple line. Promise made. We stand, prepare to follow. There was no question, no plea, only a statement. Humans did not ask if they should keep a promise. They did. Outside, the skies began to darken. Sensors detected movement at the edge of Taurex's orbit. The enemy fleet was approaching faster than predicted. John felt a twinge of worry, but it was tempered by focus. Humans did not panic. They planned. They acted. He gathered the small human contingent stationed on Taurex. They were fewer than a dozen ships, old and patched, but John treated them as if they were the mightiest fleet in the galaxy. Every pilot, every engineer, every soldier listened as he spoke. "This is not a drill," John said. "We promised the Varen we would defend them. We are outnumbered. We are far from home. We may lose ships, we may face death, but we will not break our word. Humans do not leave allies behind. We do not lie. If we fall keeping our promise. Understand?" The humans nodded. Fear was there, but it was tempered by resolve. John smiled faintly. He had seen humans face impossible odds before. What made them strong was not their strength, their weapons, or their numbers. It was their belief in something larger than themselves, their word. As night fell, John watched the first ships of the alien empire appear on Talarex's horizon. Massive dark hulls glinted under the dying light of the sun. The Varen population gathered in their cities, looking up in fear and hope. They did not know if humans could truly keep their word, but they had no other choice. The promise was their shield now. John activated the communication channel again. "We are here. We will fight. Your world will not fall while humans stand. Remember this. Your future depends on keeping faith with us, as we keep faith with you." The alien leaders stared at the massive fleet in the distance, unmoving. John felt the weight of history on him. This was more than a battle. It was a test of what humans were known for in the galaxy, their word. Every species had rules, traditions, and wars. Humans had one thing that others could not easily match: their promises. Back on Earth, Lucas Gray, a fleet commander, received John's message. Gray read it once, twice, then called his officers. "The envoy has promised," he said. "We go, no matter the cost." The room was silent. Humans rarely failed to act on such words. The promise was the spark that could ignite hope across the galaxy. As John walked through the streets of Talrex, he saw families huddled in fear, workers stopping in their tasks, and children staring at the sky. He spoke to one Varen mother who clutched her young son. "We will not let them take your home," he said simply. She nodded, tears in her eyes. It was a small thing, but humans believed in small things. Small promises, small actions that added up to survival. Hours passed. The first skirmishes were reported at the planet's edge. Human pilots, though few, were already engaging enemy scouts. John coordinated their efforts. He felt the tension in the air, the pulse of fear and hope mixed together. This was what humans thrived on, the need to act when all others doubted. As the night wore on, John stood on a hill overlooking the first human positions. Lights blinked below as ships moved into orbit. Human ships were small, but they moved with precision and courage. John smiled quietly. The galaxy might laugh at humans, call them weak, call them foolish. But here was proof that humans kept their word, even at impossible odds. He thought of the words he had sent to Earth. Promise made. It was not just a message. It was a commitment. It was a beacon. And for the first time, some of the Varen began to believe. Humans might be small, but a human promise could stand against empires. John returned to the council chamber one last time before the battle would fully begin. The Varen leaders looked at him, still uncertain, still afraid, but less so than before. "You have promised," one said softly. We follow you." John nodded. He did not say it was easy. He did not say it would be without loss. He only said what was true. Then we fight together, no matter what. The first stars of the evening glowed as the human ships took their positions in orbit. Talrex had a chance now, not because of weapons or fleets, but because of a promise. Humans had given their word, and that word was stronger than fear. John looked up at the night sky, at the distant stars beyond the orbit of Talrex, in a galaxy of shifting alliances, broken treaties, and fear. Few things were constant, but a human promise was one of them. And tonight, the galaxy would begin to see that humans were not to be underestimated, not because of their size, their numbers, or their weapons, but because of the simple truth that when a human promised, they kept it. The battle was about to begin, but John Carter, human envoy, smiled quietly to himself. This was only the start of the first human ships moved slowly through the black of space, their small lights blinking like stars among the dark void. John Carter stood on the bridge of the lead ship, his hands resting lightly on the railing. Every crew member was tense, eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching enemy fleet. The Empire's ships were massive, dark, and shaped like jagged crystals. They glimmered with energy weapons ready to fire. "We are outnumbered at least 10-1, one of the pilots," Emily Hart said quietly. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of fear. "We cannot hold them alone." John shook his head. "We will not hold them alone. We will hold them together. The Varen are counting on us. We promised, remember that. A promise is stronger than numbers." The human ships moved into formation, small but precise. The Varen ships followed, hesitant but guided by human command. John watched the young Varen pilots try to follow the maneuvers. Some faltered, some panicked, but John knew fear could be managed with leadership. Humans had learned that lesson a long time ago. The first shots came without warning. Enemy scouts darted forward, firing bright beams that lit up the darkness. Explosions shook some of the smaller Varen ships, and panic began to spread. A Varen commander screamed orders that his pilots could not follow. "Stay calm," John shouted over the comms. "Keep your formation. Protect the cities first. We fight for life, not glory." Human ships moved quickly, weaving between enemy fire. Even though they were smaller, they were agile. John had trained them for months to fight with strategy rather than strength. They targeted enemy weapons rather than hulls, disabling some scouts without destroying them. Human tactics were strange to the alien observers. They were precise, careful, and brave. "Look at them," a Varen pilot yelled over the comm. "They do not run because they promise," another human pilot said. "Humans never break a promise." The enemy fleet began to press harder. Massive ships glided forward, energy weapons burning streaks of light across space. The Varen began to falter. A few ships turned back, unable to face the overwhelming power. John noticed them and gritted his teeth. Humans did not leave allies behind. "Turn them back," John ordered. "We fight together. If we fall together. No one leaves a friend behind." He took control of a damaged human ship and guided it into a dangerous position near an enemy cruiser. The ship's shields flickered, sparks flying from its engines. John stayed calm. Every move was calculated. He disabled the enemy's weapons long enough for Varen ships to regroup. The tactic worked, but cost a human ship. Still, no one panicked. No one ran. Back on Talrex, the people watched the battle in the sky. They could see the flashes of weapons, the tiny ships dancing against massive shadows. Fear was still strong, but hope had begun to grow. Some children clutched their parents' hands, whispering that the humans kept their word. Their words were small, but John could hear them. Humans fighting for life, fighting for promises, was a lesson the galaxy needed to see. "We are losing a lot of Varen ships," one human officer said. "We cannot hold them for long." John looked at the holographic map. Enemy reinforcements were arriving. He knew the battle was far from over, yet he did not give orders of retreat. Retreat was not an option. Humans had promised. Humans did not break promises. We buy time, John said simply. We hold what we can. We save as many lives as possible. The promise is our shield. Emily Hart, the young pilot, nodded. She understood. Humans fought not for power, not for fame, but because they promised. Every human in that small fleet felt the same. Fear did not disappear, but it became fuel. Fear became courage because they had a reason beyond survival. They had a word given to others that must be kept. The enemy realized something unusual. Human ships were smaller, weaker, but they did not flee. They did not surrender. They moved in ways that protected the weak, defended civilians, and focused on strategy rather than destruction. Alien commanders frowned. They had never faced a species that cared more for a promise than for conquest. On Talrex, John sent another message to Earth. Engaged. We hold. Promise is binding. Reinforcements needed soon. Simple words, but every one carried certainty. Humans did not beg. Humans did not doubt. They acted. As the battle continued, John noticed a Varan city under attack. Energy beams cut through the skies above it. Civilians screamed and fled. John made a decision. He called a human pilot squad to protect the city, even at the risk of their own ships. The pilots obeyed without question. Humans did not hesitate when others' lives were at stake. Emily Hart led the squad. Her ship dove between the enemy fire and the city. She fired precise shots, disabling weapons that threatened buildings. One enemy missile exploded near her ship, and alarm screamed. But she held. The city was saved. The Varan below cheered. It was the first sign that humans were not just fighters. They were protectors. John smiled faintly as he watched the young pilot return safely. Humans had a strange way of measuring strength. It was not only in ships or weapons, but in courage, loyalty, and promises kept. Hours passed. The enemy fleet regrouped. They realized humans were not easily beaten. Their scouts reported that humans did not retreat, even when damaged. Varan ships that had considered running now stayed. The galaxy was learning something new about humans. They were unpredictable. They were brave. They kept their word. We need more ships, John said. But every minute we hold gives the people time to survive. That is enough for now. Keep fighting. On Talrex, families hid in shelters. Some whispered stories of humans from Earth who had fought and kept promises before. Fear remained, but respect began to grow. Even the Varan leaders, who had doubted John before, now nodded with understanding. A human word was not empty. It was stronger than their weapons, stronger than fear, stronger than the Empire itself. As the night wore on, the first human reinforcements from nearby systems began to arrive. Small fleets appeared like shining points of light. John coordinated their entry into the battle. Human strategy was simple but effective. They did not rush. They did not waste lives. They joined the fight in careful formation, protecting civilians and allies first, then engaging the enemy. The enemy commanders could not understand it. The humans were fewer, slower, weaker, but they held. They were not fighting for territory or power. They fought for life and for a promise. John received a message from Earth. The main fleet would arrive soon. They had started moving the moment John promised. Humans had no choice. Their word was not a suggestion. It was action. He smiled. It was why humans survived, why they thrived. When others counted numbers, humans counted promises. Emily Hart flew back to John's ship. The enemy is confused, she said. They do not understand why we do not flee or surrender. We are protecting everyone, even at our own risk. John nodded. That is how humans live. Fear is part of life. Survival is part of life. But keeping a promise is what defines us. He sent one more message to the Varan leaders. Hold the cities. Stay alive. Humans are with you. We promised. We do not break promises. Help is on the way. Stay strong. The Varan read it, and for the first time hope replaced fear. They began to organize their defenses better, led by human tactics. Even the young ones, who had been trembling, now found courage. A human promise had changed the course of their lives. Throughout the battle, John moved between the ships, giving orders, encouraging pilots, and guiding the Varan. Human ships were damaged, some lost. Human pilots were injured, but no one gave up. Every move, every action, every sacrifice was proof that a human promise was not empty words. It was life itself. By the end of the first long day, the enemy fleet had been slowed but not defeated. John knew it was only the beginning. More battles would come, yet for the first time, the Varan believed. They believed because humans did not lie. Humans did not abandon their word. Humans fought for something greater than power. They fought for life, and they fought because a promise had been given. John looked up at the stars, tired but determined. The night was dark, and danger surrounded Taurix, but humans had done what others thought impossible. They had held against a stronger enemy. They had shown that even in the darkest hours, a human promise could shine like a beacon across the galaxy. He thought of the message he had sent. Promise made. Humans were keeping it, no matter the cost. The galaxy might laugh at small humans, but here, in the edge of space, humans were teaching a lesson. Words mattered. The human promise was constant, and nothing, not fear, not numbers, not darkness, could change that. The night continued, with human and Varan ships holding the line. Explosions lit the sky, but John knew that every life saved, every city protected, every enemy tactic countered, was a step forward. The promise was alive, and as long as humans fought together, the Empire would learn a new truth. A human word is stronger than steel. And John Carter, envoy of humans, knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was watching, and humans would not fail. The promise was more than words. It was action, courage, and life itself. The Empire would remember this day, and so would Taurix. Few things were constant in the galaxy, John thought, but one of them was clear tonight. When humans promised, they kept it, no matter what. The battle for Taurix had entered its second day, and the sky above the planet glowed with flashes of light from distant weapons. John Carter stood on the bridge of the lead human ship, watching the enemy move in careful formation. Their ships were larger and stronger, but humans were not afraid. Fear existed, yes, but John had seen what humans could do when they faced impossible odds. They acted for a purpose greater than themselves, a promise. Reports came in that some Varan ships were damaged and retreating. John's jaw tightened. Humans did not leave allies behind. He took control of the communications channel and spoke clearly, calmly, but with authority. All Varan ships, fall back only if it is necessary to regroup. Do not abandon your people. Humans will hold the line. We fight together, or we do not fight at all. There was a pause. Then the Varan replied. Their voices were nervous but steady. We will follow. We will try to stay together. John smiled faintly. Trying was enough. Humans did not demand perfection. They demanded effort and loyalty. The promise had given the Varan courage, and courage was often stronger than numbers. The enemy fleet began a new maneuver. Huge cruisers moved in a sweeping arc, cutting off the human ships from the Varan cities below. Their weapons glowed brighter, and the smaller human ships would have been destroyed if they tried to fight head-on. John studied the maps and thought quickly. He remembered how humans survived countless wars, with ingenuity, strategy, and courage. We will divide their attention, he said. Some of us will draw them toward space. The rest protect the cities. Nobody dies without meaning. Every move counts. Human ships split into two groups. John led the smaller group, drawing attention with precision attacks. They were tiny compared to the enemy, but they were fast, careful, and brave. The larger group stayed near the cities, protecting civilians, evacuating those in danger, and assisting damaged Varan ships. One human ship, piloted by Sarah Brown, a young but skilled pilot, flew into the thick of the enemy lines. A massive cruiser fired at her ship, and sparks flew across the hull. Alarms screamed. She could have retreated, but she saw a Varan transport being targeted. She did not hesitate. She fired back, disabling the enemy's weapon long enough for the transport to escape. Her ship was damaged, but she survived. John watched the actions unfold and nodded. This was the difference humans made. Others fought for conquest, for glory, for power. Humans fought because they promised. They fought for life, for others, and for the word given. The galaxy had not seen this before, and the enemy would take note soon. On Talrix, civilians looked up at the sky. They could see the tiny human ships dodging massive fire. They could see Sarah's ship dive into danger to save lives. Fear had not disappeared, but hope had grown. People whispered that humans were different. Humans did not run. Humans did not lie. Humans kept their word. The enemy commanders were beginning to understand this as well. One of them barked orders at his fleet, confused and frustrated. Why do they not break? Why do they fight without fear of death? Why do they protect those who are weak instead of attacking us? His subcommander, a tall alien with gray skin, replied, "It is unlike any species I have seen. They are small, weaker, and outnumbered. Yet they do not retreat. They do not abandon allies. They act for others, not themselves. They value promises." The enemy did not understand it fully. The concept of a promise binding a species stronger than fear or power was foreign. They had conquered worlds by fear and force. Humans were different. Humans were dangerous in ways the enemy had never considered. As the day continued, human and Varan ships worked together. Some human ships were destroyed. Some pilots were injured. Yet no one panicked. Every loss was met with renewed effort. John directed forces to protect civilians first, then fight strategically. Human tactics were strange, precise, and effective. The galaxy was seeing a new kind of strength. Sarah Brown was now flying near a Varan city under heavy attack. She saw buildings on fire, people trapped, and enemy ships aiming to destroy the planet's core energy plant. She risked her life to intercept missiles, disable weapons, and guide civilians to safety. Each action saved lives. Each action proved a human promise was not empty. John coordinated multiple groups, moving quickly between sectors. His calm and precise orders inspired humans and Varan alike. Humans fought like a wall that could not break. The enemy fleet tried to split them, surround them, and destroy them, but humans adjusted, countered, and endured. "The enemy is slowing," one pilot reported. "They are confused by our tactics. They expected us to flee, surrender, or abandon the Varan." John nodded. "Good. That confusion is our advantage. Stay focused, protect the cities. Fight for life. Remember why we are here." We promised. On the surface, Talrix's citizens began to organize with human guidance. Emergency shelters were set up, injured people were moved to safety, and the Varan learned to work with humans to minimize damage. John's small fleet was not just fighting in space. It was inspiring survival on the ground. Humans acted not only with weapons but with leadership. Hours passed. The enemy fleet regrouped, bringing reinforcements and heavier cruisers. John knew the battle was far from over. Yet even as the skies burned with light and explosions shook ships, the humans remained steady. No one panicked. No one questioned the promise. Fear was present, but it was controlled. It became determination. "We need to show them we will not back down," John said. Prepare a forward strike. Target their command ship. Disable it if possible. It does not matter if we lose ships. It matters if we hold our word. Emily Hart led the strike team. They dodged enemy fire, maneuvered carefully, and reached the command cruiser. They fired precise bursts, hitting key systems and causing chaos among the enemy ranks. The cruiser slowed, and enemy ships scrambled to protect it. Human action had changed the tide, not with numbers, but with courage and strategy. John smiled faintly. See? Humans fight differently. Humans fight for each other. Humans fight for their word. The galaxy will remember this. The enemy fleet, now partially confused and damaged, pulled back slightly. It was not a full retreat, but they were cautious. Humans had shown they could endure, resist, and protect allies even when the odds were impossible. On Talrex, the Varan leaders finally understood the depth of the promise John had made. They had feared humans were small and weak, but they now saw a different truth. Humans were unpredictable, brave, and loyal to a fault. Humans valued their word above life itself. The promise was real, and it shaped the course of the battle. John received another message from Earth. The main human fleet was now en route, expected to arrive within a few days. He knew that once they arrived, the battle could shift further. Yet he did not relax. Humans did not fight for glory, and victory was not the goal. Survival, protection, and keeping the promise were. He turned to the young Varan leader, who had spoken first in the council. You see now why humans do what they say. Our word is our bond. We fight for promises, and promises do not break, even when it is hard, even when it costs us. The Varan nodded. Your word is stronger than the enemy's weapons. It gives us hope. John smiled. Good. Hold that hope. It is stronger than fear. As night fell on the planet, human and Varan forces continued to fight. Explosions lit the sky. Ships moved like fireflies among the darkness, and civilians were guided to safety. Every human action, every careful maneuver, every risk taken, was proof of the strength that came from a promise kept. Sarah Brown returned to John's ship, battered but alive. We held them back, she said. For now. John nodded. We held more than them. We held hope. We showed that humans fight differently. That is more important than any victory today. The Empire will remember us. The first long day of battle ended with both sides paused. The enemy had not been defeated, but human tactics and courage had slowed them. Varan ships and people had survived. Civilians had hope, and the galaxy had begun to notice that humans were different. Humans were dangerous not because of strength, but because of loyalty, courage, and promises kept. John looked at the stars above. He knew more battles would come. More ships would be lost. More lives would be at risk. Yet he smiled faintly. Humans had done what few others could. They had fought for a promise, and the galaxy would never forget it. Few things were constant in the galaxy, John thought. Empires rose and fell. Treaties were broken. Worlds burned. But one thing endured, a human promise. And tonight, as the explosions faded into the night sky above Talarex, the galaxy had seen the truth. When humans give their word, they keep it. No matter the cost. The sky above Talarex was filled with smoke and light as the human reinforcements arrived. John Carter watched from the bridge of the lead ship, relief mixing with determination. The new fleet was larger, stronger, and faster, yet he knew that the numbers alone were not enough. Humans fought differently, and he would show the galaxy why. The first human reinforcements entered orbit carefully, scanning for enemy movements. Varan ships regrouped alongside them, guided by human tactics. Civilians on the planet looked up, seeing the shining lights of ships in formation. Hope spread among the people. They had waited for this day, and it had come. Humans kept their promise. John issued orders calmly and clearly. We protect the cities first. Every civilian must be safe. After that, we engage. No ship moves without purpose. We fight to keep our word, not for glory." The enemy fleet, now facing a larger human force, hesitated. Their scouts reported that more ships were arriving, but they still outnumbered humans. Yet confusion spread among their commanders. They had expected humans to break, to flee, or to surrender. Humans had done neither. Now, with reinforcements, humans were holding, defending, and leading allies. Sarah Brown, her ship repaired quickly by the human engineers, flew near a Varan city under threat. Enemy fire rained down, but she dodged with precision. She guided the evacuation of civilians, blocked attacks on key buildings, and helped repair damaged defenses. She risked her life without hesitation. Human courage and skill shone brightly. John coordinated the main fleet. Humans moved with careful precision, protecting civilians first, disabling enemy weapons second, and attacking only when it was necessary to save lives. Enemy cruisers fired beams that could destroy small cities, but humans intercepted, deflected, and countered. Every action had meaning. Every move honored the promise made. On the planet below, the Varan began to understand. Their leaders no longer doubted humans. The young Varan who had first followed John now gave orders confidently, coordinating with human officers. The people watched, inspired. Fear remained, but it was tempered by courage. Humans had shown them that even against overwhelming power, hope could survive. "Why do humans fight like this?" one Varvan commander asked another. "They risk everything, even their own lives, to protect others." "Because they promised," the other replied quietly. "Their word is stronger than weapons. They keep it, no matter what." John sent another message to Earth. Reinforcements arrived. "Enemy is slowing. Humans hold. Varan, trust us. Promise continues. Action proves words." The enemy fleet tried to counterattack. They aimed for the cities, hoping to break morale. Massive beams of energy lit the sky. Explosions shook the ground. Yet humans and Varan worked together. Human ships intercepted fire, blocked missiles, and guided civilians to safety. The enemy's plan failed. Human promise held firm. Emily Hart led a squadron in a daring maneuver. They surrounded a cruiser, disabled its weapons, and forced it to retreat. They lost a ship, but the mission saved thousands of lives on the surface. Every human action was careful, precise, and meaningful. It was not reckless heroism. It was the power of keeping a promise. John watched the battle unfold. He saw humans taking risks, protecting others, leading Varan ships and guiding civilians. The galaxy had not seen this kind of fighting. It was not about power or conquest. It was about duty, honor, and life itself. A human promise had changed the course of this battle. The enemy commanders grew frustrated. Their strategies, built on fear and force, were failing. Humans did not panic. Humans did not retreat. Humans did not abandon allies. Humans fought for life, for others, and for their word. It was something the galaxy had never truly faced before. On the planet, the Varan leaders gathered. They looked at John, their eyes filled with respect. "We did not believe you at first," one said. "We thought humans were small, weak, foolish. Now we see your word is stronger than any weapon. Your courage saves lives. We are grateful." John nodded. "We fight because we promised. We survive because we keep our word. Nothing else matters more than the promise given. Remember this. It is why humans endure, why humans lead, why humans protect." As the hours passed, the enemy began to retreat. Not all ships left, but they moved carefully, avoiding direct confrontation. They had learned that humans could not be defeated by fear, deception, or numbers alone. Humans fought differently. Humans fought for life and for promises. The enemy would not forget it. John and his crew continued to guide the battle. Human ships repaired damaged Varan vessels, coordinated defenses, and blocked enemy fire. Civilians were evacuated from danger zones. The cities survived. The people had hope. The Varan learned new tactics and courage from humans. Every action reinforced the promise made. Sarah Brown returned to John's ship after another successful mission. She was tired but smiling. "We held them back again," she said. "Every city is safer now. The enemy is confused. They do not understand us." John nodded. "Good. Confusion works in our favor, but our real power is in our promise. Humans fight for others. That is what the galaxy does not expect. That is what makes us strong." Through the night, human and Varan forces worked together. The enemy attacked in waves, but humans intercepted, protected civilians, and saved lives. Ships were damaged, some were lost, but no one gave up. Every human action, every sacrifice, every careful move showed that a promise kept was stronger than fear, weapons, or numbers. The Varan began to spread the story. They told their people how humans fought, how humans risked everything to keep a promise, how they saved cities and lives without hesitation. Respect and admiration grew. Fear remained, but it was now mixed with hope. Humans had shown what it meant to fight for life, not just survival. John received another message from Earth. The main fleet would arrive soon to provide full support. He smiled faintly. Humans did not fight for praise or medals. They fought because they promised, and action followed words. The galaxy would remember this. He walked through the corridors of the lead ship, checking on crews, encouraging pilots, and ensuring the wounded were cared for. Human leaders acted not just with weapons but with compassion, skill, and guidance. Every effort reinforced the promise given. The enemy fleet, now partially retreating, fired less aggressively. They were frustrated and cautious. They had underestimated humans, thought them weak, and now saw a new truth. Humans fought differently. Humans fought for life and for promises. The galaxy had learned something it would never forget. John returned to the bridge and looked out at the night sky. Explosions flickered. Lights of ships moved like fireflies, and the stars beyond seemed calm and distant. He thought of the words he had sent to Earth, the promise made to Talrex, and the courage of his people. Humans were small, yet strong. Humans had endured, protected, and inspired. A promise had turned the tide. He turned to the Varan leaders who were now present on the bridge. "See what humans do," he said. "We promised. We acted. We protected. Your people live because humans keep their word. Remember this always. It is what makes humans strong." The Varan nodded. Their fear had been replaced by understanding and admiration. They saw that humans were unpredictable, brave, and loyal. Humans did not fight for power or glory. They fought for life, for others, and for promises kept. The galaxy was beginning to take notice. As dawn approached, the enemy had fully retreated from the planet's orbit, not because they were destroyed, but because they could not risk facing humans directly again. The small fleet, guided by John, had changed the course of the battle. The Varan cities were safe, the people alive, and hope restored. John looked at the stars, knowing this battle was not over, but that humans had proven their strength. They were not the strongest in numbers or weapons, but they were strong in ways the galaxy had never expected. A promise given by humans was more powerful than fear, destruction, or deceit. He sent one final message before resting. "Talrex is safe. Our promise has been kept. Humans will continue to stand with you. Remember this. We keep our word, no matter what. That is who we are." The Varan leaders looked around at the surviving ships, their people, and the human crews. Respect, hope, and trust filled their hearts. The galaxy might see humans as small, but on Talrex, humans had become giants. Not because of power, but because of courage, loyalty, and promises kept. And John Carter knew that few things were constant in the galaxy, but one of them was clear tonight. A human promise was unbreakable, and its strength could change worlds. Months had passed since the battle for Talrex. The planet was slowly rebuilding, its cities repaired, its people returning to work, and its skies quieter now that the enemy had retreated. John Carter walked through the streets with a calm pride. He had not only kept the promise he gave, but had shown the galaxy why humans were different. Even small acts, small words, kept carefully, could change worlds. Varan children ran past him, laughing, holding toys that humans had helped deliver. Their parents watched from the rebuilt houses, nodding in respect to the humans who had risked so much. Everywhere John looked, he saw life restored, not because humans were strongest in weapons, but because they had kept their word. He met the Varan Council in the rebuilt chamber. They looked older, wiser, and more confident. "John Carter," one of them said, "your people are small, but they have shown strength beyond our understanding. They do not fight like others. They fight for life, for honor, for promises. We are grateful." John smiled quietly. "Humans are not perfect," he said. "We make mistakes, we fail, and sometimes we lose. But we do not break our word. That is what makes us strong. We promise, and we act. Your world is alive because of that promise. Remember it, and teach it to your people." The Varan nodded. They had learned a lesson that would stay with them forever. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their word had weight. Their loyalty was unmatched. Their courage was rooted not in pride or power, but in promise. John walked through the city, seeing the small details humans had helped restore. Markets reopened, children returning to schools, and human engineers still teaching Varan workers new techniques to rebuild faster. Every effort reinforced the lesson humans had brought. Survival was important, but promises were stronger. He looked to the sky, remembering the flashes of the battle. Explosions, fire, and fear had once filled this place. Now the skies were calm, but the memory of courage and loyalty remained. The galaxy had seen the difference humans made, and Talrex was proof that a promise could shape the fate of a world back on Earth. Lucas Gray watched news feeds of Talrex. He had seen countless messages from John during the battle. Every one was simple, precise, and certain. Humans did not hesitate when a promise was given. They acted, and they endured. Gray thought about how many worlds would now remember humans as a species that kept their word above all else. On Talrex, a young Varan approached John. "Why do humans care so much about promises?" the child asked. John knelt to meet the small alien's eyes. "Because promises are what hold people together," he said. "Without them, trust disappears, fear grows, and nothing lasts. When humans promise, we fight, we endure, and we protect. That is why the galaxy must learn to trust us. Promises are stronger than weapons." The child nodded, holding his small hands together. "I will remember that," he said. "Humans are special." John smiled. "Remember it well. You may teach it to others someday." That is how humans change the galaxy, not by conquering, but by being true to their word. He returned to the human fleet stationed in orbit. Ships were repaired, crews rested, and the human presence remained to help the Varan rebuild infrastructure and defenses. It was not a show of power. It was proof that humans kept their promise. They stayed until the work was done, until trust was built, and until Talrex could survive on its own. Sarah Brown and Emily Hart joined him. "The Varan are learning fast," Sarah said. "They follow human tactics now, and they respect what we did. It is like they see a new way to fight and live." John nodded. "That is what matters. We showed them that humans fight differently. We showed them that promises mean action. The galaxy will remember this. More worlds will follow if they see what we do." As the days passed, Talrex became a symbol. Other nearby systems heard stories of the human fleet, of ships small but brave, of humans protecting allies, of civilians saved, and of promises kept even when impossible. The galaxy slowly began to see humans differently. Humans were not the largest, not the strongest, but their word carried weight. The enemy empire learned the same lesson. Their commanders could not understand why humans fought so tirelessly for a world that was not theirs, why they risked so much, why they refused to surrender or retreat. It was a lesson that would haunt their planning for decades. Humans kept their word. They acted for promises, not fear or power. They could not be predicted. They could not be broken easily. John walked through the rebuilt council hall one last time. The Varen leaders thanked him again. He did not boast. He did not take pride in the destruction they had prevented. He only spoke truth. Humans promise, and we act. Your world survives because we acted, but also because you chose to believe in us. Never forget that. That choice matters as much as any weapon. The Varen nodded, understanding. Humans had left a mark not with fire, but with integrity, courage, and loyalty. Their reputation in the galaxy would grow because of what they had done. Talrex was now a living example of how humans fought differently. John received messages from other nearby systems. Requests for human envoys, for help, and for guidance were arriving. Humans were being sought, not for war, but for trust. Their word mattered more than anything. The galaxy had begun to notice that humans were not easily defeated because their strength came from within, from honor, from promises kept. One evening as John walked along a rebuilt street, he saw children playing games humans had taught them. He saw parents discussing strategies for safety. He saw the city alive. He looked up at the stars, feeling calm satisfaction. Humans had fulfilled their promise. They had protected a world and shown what made them unique. Few things were constant in the galaxy, but one was clear: a human promise. He received a message from Lucas Gray. John, well done. The galaxy is watching. Humans have shown their strength. Your promise is proof of what we are capable of. John smiled faintly. Thank you. We did what humans do. We promised, and we acted. Nothing more, nothing less. The stars over Talrex twinkled quietly, as if watching. John thought of the battles, the loss, the courage, the hope, and the lives saved. He thought of every pilot, every crew member, every human who had risked their life to keep a promise. Humans had done what others thought impossible. They had fought for life, for honor, and for a word given. On the last day before leaving Talrex, John addressed the Varen people. Remember what you saw. Remember what humans did. We did not fight for glory or conquest. We fought for a promise. Your world survived because we acted, but also because you chose to trust. Keep that lesson. Teach it. The galaxy must know that a human word is strong, and a promise kept is stronger than fear, weapons, or even empires. The Varen cheered quietly, their eyes shining with admiration. They would tell this story for generations. The battle for Talrex would not be remembered for destruction, but for hope, courage, and integrity. Humans had changed their world forever. John left the planet with his fleet, looking back one last time. He felt calm. The promise was kept. Humans had shown that they fought differently, survived differently, and led differently. The galaxy would remember, and humans would continue to act when promises were made. As the fleet moved through space, John thought of the galaxy beyond. Empires would rise and fall. Treaties would be broken. Worlds would burn. Yet, few things were constant. One of them would always endure: a human promise. He smiled faintly. The stars ahead seemed brighter. Humans were small in the vast galaxy, but they were mighty in ways others could not measure. They acted with courage, with loyalty, and with honor. Their word was their strength, and the galaxy had finally begun to see it. And so, Talrex survived. Humans kept their word. The galaxy began to respect them. And one simple truth endured. When a human promised something, they kept it, no matter the cost, no matter the fear, and no matter the darkness ahead. Few things were constant in the galaxy, but John Carter knew one thing clearly. A human promise was one of them, and that promise could shape the fate of worlds.